700. I got the lovely Jackie here. We got May. We got myself. Alright, we got Corey, my main man right here. We got the lovely Doris. Alright, today we're going to be talking about what the course has taught us. Our first question, what did you learn in this course specifically about, and how does it relate to media, culture, and society?
Media isn't just about television and music and fashion magazines. It's actually a pretty much big, huge company industry that takes over the whole world. You know, in a simple sense. And I like that everything I know is not my own. It's actually dedicated by someone out there that's controlling the media that's going out. I'm a consumer like everybody else. So I take in what is given to me. And as a minority woman, I've learned that a lot of the things that are in media are not my representation.
Wait, can I just interrupt you right there? What do you mean by it's not my media?
I'm not the one that creates it. Somebody else does, right? But it doesn't represent me. It represents an idea of me.
Like a caricature.
Yeah.
It's like controlled by a few, but
for the many.
Catered for the masses.
Yeah.
As society, we are trained through like ideologies and discourses to adhere to that, even though in reality that's not a real representation of who we are.
And it's funny because, like, if you think about yourself, who you are is not exactly what people see. I mean, when people see Doris, they see an Asian girl. They don't even know where she comes from, right? Nobody knows that she's Chinese, you know? They don't even bother to ask. They just, exactly, they base it on what they see. That's what media does. It has this general idea of who someone is, and then they use those stereotypes to create their products.
Personally, what the course taught me is it opened my eyes to how manipulative media is. But also, it's not hopeless. Although media is this huge conglomerate company, and we're all like drink it all in, and we do have the power to like subvert it. If we just internalize our own story and have the confidence to like put it out there, then somebody else will have that story. And then you'll give that person confidence to share their own story. There'll be a process to change it, but there is a way to do it. What Dr. Gennaro said about your story is valuable because somebody else has the same story.
Yeah.
So that really resonated with me because like growing up as like a Filipino Canadian, you know, there's only so little Asian people in the media in Canada. So I would personally like subscribe to my media back home because like I can relate to that.
Exactly.
Right. But then after going through this course, I was like, it doesn't really have to be that way. Like I have the power to speak my own, say my own message.
I just have a question for Corey. Do you think that the material you've learned and everything you've taken in so far, do you think you'll be able to use that past this course?
One thing that I've learned that has come quite interesting, I actually got my mom on it as well, is analyzing magazine covers. Like actually like started to collect like one or two because I didn't know that they used to plaster most of the issues. Push it on us so much, like I represent women on the front magazines, the poses, text they put next to them. All these things, like I find is so important. It's quite a nifty skill to have that you could deconstruct a nice semiotic analysis of a photo and actually see all the things that the course has taught us, you know, the gender equality, the underrepresentation of women, hyper-sexualization of them.
But as a man, would you see women differently now based on what you've learned so far? Or will it, like, I mean, come on, guys.
At the end of the day, as they say, boys will be boys. It has opened my eyes to not only just objectify women and not fall victim to the behaviors. It is a process.
It'll take time.
Yeah, it's a process.
This course explores the relationship between people and the way the media that influence cultural and human life, as well as the effects of the internet and digital culture, such as advertisement, network, and personal interactions. Especially advertisement, we've learned that in Jason's tutorial. Throughout the advertisement, we can see how women powers compares with men powers, and they usually show men's powers less stronger than women.
He said a lot of interesting things about perfumes.
The smells of the different perfumes stand for different meanings.
What kind of perfumes do you guys use?
Gucci.
See, why do you use Gucci though?
It's quite a like attractive smell.
Is it fruity? Or?
No.
But why do you use that?
Well, mine personally, like I don't like too much overbearing. So my cousin was telling me like one of these brands have these male scents. I have one for complete like a powerful scent like. So
I
it
think
just
that's all spice.
yeah, it'll be like a really powerful smell, and and it'll be like for so much attraction, like this to show power, for you to stand out in the room, like a man to stand out in the room.
Yeah.
And I don't know, compared to the females, it's more of a subtle.
So, Mr. Liran, what do you use for perfume? Because he said he uses it to get chips.
Everybody wants to know. I use Hugo Boss.
Oh,
the classic.
really?
Yo, it makes me feel like I could just like put that
Yeah,
on.
like a boss.
And afterwards, walk into a room, give like a mean look to make everyone think I'm a hard man, and then afterwards, yeah. Subconsciously, I'm like, yo, if I walk around and a girl notices, like, dang, I'm like, yo.
He's a big boss. That's the thing about consumerism, you know? Like, if it works for you the first time, you're gonna use it over and over again, right?
It didn't work yet, but yo, I'm trying.
Okay. But you still buy it though.
Wait, the 50 bottles to finish.
Yeah, you still buy it because you're hoping it's gonna work. Good
Because
luck,
you
by the way.
deserve it.
Exactly.
Talk about the perfume. I'm using the Dolce & Gabbana one.
Yeah.
That's really like flowery. It really smells really sweet because I'm a really chill person. So
You want something subtle.
yeah.
That makes sense, actually. And it's very interesting because your personality isn't like I'm in your face kind of personality. If you go out now, will you spend money on stuff that you know that you've learned in this class not to spend money on? Because like we contradict ourselves, right? Like it's one thing learning it, but it's another actually doing it.
Yeah.
Remember when he was talking about storybooks, as you were talking, right? So the books he read to us, the different stereotypes in those books. So if you guys ever become parents, what are you gonna do to change that?
I guess you'll have to as Prof said, you'll still have to read it one point or the other, but you have to also teach them the subliminal message, subliminal message that are hidden inside the book.
But that's really hard though, because like you can tell your child, oh honey, by the way, not all dads have hair. But let's say we live in a society where 70% of the people are bald. What's a child supposed to think? Even if you tell your child something, the society has so much power and influence over kids.
So now we're like
Over
going
us.
through the world of censorship. So how much can you block from children's internalizing of any media? Because there's like two ways of like dealing with censorship. Either you can totally censor everything, but then that will result to violence.
Exactly.
Or you can just not censor anything at all, which is also not so good either. I think that's when like the critical thinking comes in, because we understand that the media is not always what it seems. So like as COMN students, as media scholars, like we have to be aware to see past the surface of a cover of a magazine or the plot of a storyline in a movie or in a show, and then look at the underlying ideologies that go with it. What are they representing? What are they not representing? But in terms of like being a consumer, it's totally going to be difficult because there's always going to be pressures. But at the same time, we should also make an effort to not to always adhere to them, to think first, to reflect first on, okay, do I really need this?
That's so hard.
Piece of I know it is, but think about it. As minority people as we are pretty privileged as well. Being in Canada,
Yeah, for sure.
being university students, we still have like the power,
To
whatever
make a
little
difference.
power. But there's still some hope, is what I'm saying.
Hopefully.
I think in general, we just touched over the fact that the course taught you in terms of skills, critical analysis. When you're looking towards film, music, everything, advertisements. When you're looking at these different mediums, you're going to be critically analyzing each one. You're going to be looking who's being represented, how are they being represented, what stereotypes are they using, who is this, like the media, who's basically, who's this being used for, who's going to be taking these mediums as fact, and who's going to dismiss them as obvious stereotypes. Obviously, people who are more not gonna say intellectual, but more well-read, I guess,
Yeah.
are gonna be understanding that these are just caricatures that the media is using. But
Mhm.
other people who are less educated, I guess, or are more sheltered, I guess, would be seeing these caricatures as real. Now, you're going to be looking at different mediums. Like if you look at, I was in video games for mine, right? You're going to be looking at everyone's favorite game, obviously, GTA 5. Obviously, the whole point of the game is a criminal element. But one of the characters is a black man. Now, when you're, like, obviously these games, they say they're aimed toward 18 plus, but it's usually the consumer base for these kind of games is like the preteen, 14, 16-year-old white male. When they look at that and they see one of the characters, Franklin, they're automatically going to be assuming, all right, this is how the majority of black men are. And it's not only kids, obviously, that are having this perspective.
No, but the people that create the games create it like that for a reason,
Yeah,
right?
they do it, obviously. It's to conform to those stereotypes. And of course, taught us that we should look and understand that these stereotypes are done for a reason.
But what he's trying to say is that, like, you don't want to make it sound so negative to the point that they do it on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, it is done.
Like, they aren't hypnotizing you or anything. You can choose not to consume that media. Obviously, some people choose to, and that happens as a result. And then these stereotypes happen not even in the media, but then it starts to seep out into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And after people of minority groups, in this case, I'm talking about black men, are automatically vilified.
Of course.
And seen as like criminals, obviously. I'm gonna just tell a quick story right now, guys. Pretty much one time I was applying for work at Staples, so I had my resumes and everything. I was walking, and I got stopped by 4 cops, and they automatically asked if I had drugs in my bag.
Wow.
I'm the only person that was walking, right, like towards the entrance. Like this is in the front of the entrance, so like a bunch of people in carts are just looking at me. I was forced to pretty much dump my entire bag, and obviously I didn't have drugs. I had like 15 resumes because like, I'm trying to look for work. The struggle's real, right? So,
Yeah.
so I spilled out the resumes, and then after, automatically they get annoyed, I guess, that I wasn't that person they were looking for, and then after, yeah, it's normal. Like, it happens a few times. Probably like once a month, maybe if I'm walking, and then they slow down, and they look at you, they ask you where you're headed. If I'm
That's
walking,
the whole carding thing, right?
you can't really do anything, but you just listen to what they have to say, and just walk on. So.
But you know, what I think is that there is obviously a dominant race, which, as we will all agree, Caucasian race pretty much dominates everything. But like these stereotypes that are created are based on certain individuals that I guess people have met along the way, and then they base it on that. They think everybody's the same, right?
It's generalization.
Exactly. But as a black person, as an African person, why haven't we done anything about changing those stereotypes? Because like, if you think about it, some of those stereotypes actually, some of them are true. Like, let's say, for example,
like I like watermelon and fried chicken.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, you know, Africans like chicken. I don't know why. We really like chicken.
Everyone
right?
likes chicken.
But then
I like
everyone.
chicken.
And then they always say not as much as Africans, right? Like, I've never watched an African-made movie by an African producer that completely goes against the stereotypes.
Well, if we look at Nollywood, it's Nigerian movies, the whole point is, like, the course also, I want to just go over that again, the course taught us, like, it's important for minorities to speak up and have alternative voices in media.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of actual mediums, like Nollywood and Bollywood, that are actually bigger than Hollywood, and they have their own voice, and they speak against stereotypes.
I've watched a few Nigerian movies, okay? And do you guys see Nigerian movies? Nigerian movies are crazy.
You know, so much screaming.
So, I mean, there are stereotypes that are towards those movies. But then you watch the movies, and those stereotypes are true. You know what? Like, you see what I mean? Like, I'm being a devil's advocate here, okay? Like, I'm not saying it's right. But what I'm saying is that some of these stereotypes that are created are true, and a lot of us blend into those stereotypes. Like, we don't try to change them.
Also, you accept it as fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, what can we do about that? Because, like, it frustrates me when people get angry about, let's say, I'm going to use Nigerians again, but that Nigerians are loud and stuff. But then you go in a place where Nigerians really are loud. Some of them, right?
I think it goes back to your earlier point of how it clears your identity. Like,
Yeah.
media clears your identity, because as we continue to replicate stereotypes in media, new generations take it in, not
And then
knowing
just-
that, and
just
then it
regurgitate
keeps going.
The
and
cycle
going.
just keeps on.
Yeah,
It's very frustrating.
it's weird.
Like, I mean,
It's hard to break the cycle of one media, of course. It's difficult. Like to speak back media, as Prof was saying, like it's so hard. Like although we have the means, the access to project our points and stuff, they have so much power in the sense that how they control media. So it's so hard to break the cycle of stereotypes.
The audience isn't interested in hearing
Yeah.
the others. Like they want to just hear what Fox News is saying over what the actual people who are living through these experiences, and they don't want to have their own. Well, I don't want to say they don't want to have their own voice, but they choose not to because they have the feeling like my voice is going to be overshadowed by these people.
But in the digital age now,
It's a lot easier.
it's a little easier now with social media.
Social media,
And YouTube.
you have Twitter and YouTube. Check out
you
my
can just say anything you want.
Yeah.
Pretty much. What do you guys think about Paul Freire? He talks a lot about oppressed people, right? And as individuals from minority groups, do you think we're oppressed?
We're oppressed in a different
Definitely.
way. Like we're not oppressed where to the point where we have like literally no freedom, and our social media is censored critically like it's like China. But in our case, we're seen as others, and we're oppressed in different ways, like via institutional racism. So if I have a white employer and he looks at my name and he sees the other person's name next to him, and I actually seen this, they see one person's name like a completely different name. I don't know where their country's from, but and they had another like typical name like Jack Armstrong or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they pay more attention to that resume because it's an identity they can relate to, that the media makes it easily relatable to. Like if you see someone that has a name like Liban Abdi, you don't know what that name is, like it's an other automatically. But if you see someone like Jack, then automatically you're gonna think, all right, this is the hardworking white employee who can give me what I
you're
want.
right.
You're gonna, and that's the case. But
I feel like being oppressed also can be in like the culture industry because although there's so much entertainment going on, we have more films and songs and shows more than ever before, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like psychological oppression or institutional oppression. It's like we give you all this entertainment, but you
have the
stay
choice.
where you are, you know? It's like we are duped into giving away our consent in exchange for like
And we
more
don't even
pleasure
question
and
it.
more entertainment. We don't question it.
When you came from China, was it a culture shock?
Yeah, there was. My high school in Vancouver, it's like a public school, right? And then there's a lot of Canadians and white guys, and then only a group of Chinese people. But actually, it's really funny that we never get in touch, or actually we never communicate that much with the local people in our school. We just have our own groups, and then they have their own groups, and then
It's the whole
for sure we're gonna
assimilation.
have a lot of discussion during the class time, but then after class we never
You stick to your own kind of thing.
That's what Prof was talking about.
And we have the ESL class, you know that one? Yeah. And then I don't know. I think it's really hard to make make friends with local people because our cultural background is kind of different from them, right? And then
so they want to go in their own group.
yeah.
And it happens a lot. Like everyone wants to go into their own.
Yeah, even though they're nice to us, for sure, but it's not like that close, We can actually just sit down and have a really,
A conversation. Are you surprised by the stereotypes that they have on Asian women? Like, if you hear some of these stereotypes, like, does it surprise you or offend you or, like, make you want to say something about it?
I know, for sure. Like, growing up, like, as a Filipino, like, I came from the Philippines and came here when I was 10. And, the typical Filipino career is, to be a nurse or
That's
to be a nanny
Oh,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, right? And that always angers me all the time because it's not only like what the people around you, people outside of your family says, it's also within your culture.
Of course, yeah.
It's like
Because people look at you the same.
it's like take all the sciences, take all the maths,
Yeah.
go to a nursing college. But then what happens if you're not good at science?
Yeah,
and you're Filipino. So like that personally resonated with me. I was a smart person, but science was not my strength, and I had a passion, which was music. Being in this course was like gave me so much like
confidence,
willpower to like, okay, I'm gonna do what I want.
I don't care about anybody else.
Since I am a media maker as a musician, I could subvert it. I could speak on my own experiences, and that's where my authenticity comes from, and to speak back on the reality that, you know, maybe there are other Filipino girls and guys that are not
against those stereotypes.
Exactly, and are feeling oppressed, you know, are feeling oppressed, and they don't have an outlet because the dominant culture says you should only be this and this way only.
Anyone have any closing thoughts about the course?
This mystery about critical thinking has ruined some of my favorite shows. Damn you, Dr. Schneider!
You change everything, like actually, like everything you watch, everything you see, it's a completely different eye.
Yeah, like you're looking, you're watching, and then like if you're
Like,
watching
I
that
lose
show, The
interest
Walking
in stuff
Dead.
now. It's so sad.
I lost interest in The Walking Dead. They kill off 2 black guys can't be on the screen out there.
But you know, I learned a lot from this class, and I'm glad I took it because as a communication major, I guess it's a necessity, right? But I definitely will take a lot of what I learned from this class to my future. I mean, I want to have kids, but I don't want to raise kids that think people have to be grouped into different groups, you know? And based on his examples, like Disney, oh man, I love Disney movies, but that's the end of it. But no, I'll sit them down after and be like, guys, we need to talk about this movie. You know? Like, you know, kids pick up a lot. And it's pretty sad because the generation now of teenagers, a lot of them have very narrow viewpoints. They, like, media is in their face. And they don't have much censorship towards it. Their parents can't do much. I mean, 12-year-olds are playing video games that you play that shouldn't be playing 18+ video games, right?
The importance is to talk, to speak on what is this piece of media doing to you? What is it not doing to you? So dialogue is really important to communicate to each other so that you can understand that reality isn't just one point of view. It's a whole variety. Like, look at us right here. My life story is different from you.
You're trying to sing too.
Trying to make my own book right now.
I guess Dr. Jenner, this is like a thank you to you for giving us a great class and teaching us to be open-minded.
Always to ask the critical questions.
Yeah.
Who is mentioned? Who is not mentioned?
And thanks for ruining my favorite movies for me. I will hold that against you. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you.